pledge the flag
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Dean Reister?
Yes.
Bill Boylan?
Yes.
Bryce Steiner?
Yes.
Jason Franks?
Yes.
Steve Jordan?
Yes.
Brian Smith? Okay. Moving into business of the meeting, everyone's presented with a copy of the regular meeting minutes from July 24th. If there are no additions or corrections to the minutes, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as read.
Second, Bryce's motion.
I'll second.
Motion on the floor to approve the minutes as approved. Bryce Steiner?
Yes.
Steve Jordan?
Yes.
Dean Reister?
Yes.
Bill Boylan?
Yes.
Jason Franks?
Yes.
Brian Smith?
Yes.
Moving into the finance report, everyone's got a copy of the finance report. No one submitted any questions, so if there's no questions, motion to approve the finance report and the bank reconciliation.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Is that Jason?
Yep.
Motion on the floor to approve the July finance report. Brian Smith?
Yes.
Jason Franks?
Yes.
Dean Reister?
Yes.
Bill Boylan?
Yes.
Bryce Steiner?
Yes.
Steve Jordan?
Yes.
Pass those around for signature.
Yes, sir.
Everyone has a reader report. Are there any questions on the reader report? If not, we'll move into recognitions of guests. Just a reminder that everyone that's been or has asked to be on the agenda will get 3 minutes for their presentation. Sue Fowler was the first to ask to be put on the agenda.
Hi, I'm Sue Fowler.
I see.
I am here in support of our little library. I think it had been brought up before about having it power wash the outside of it. I've got some pictures here if you'd like to pass them around of currently what it looks like. It is kind of a stucco type of the building, which would be a little bit difficult to keep clean. I think it was asked before if the town would power wash it off in the springtime, and the request was denied, and I'm just here respectfully to ask that you, oh, and I also have a picture of all the little kiddos that come to the library. So I guess I'm just asking respectfully for you to reconsider. If it's a question of a power washer, we've had some people volunteer saying they would do that. My only concern is if something were to happen to it, if a light structure would be broken with, you know, someone doing power washing or something would happen, would that liability fall back on the town? And is that what you want? Would the town pay for someone professional to clean it if you don't have a power washer anymore? I know the landscaping has been an issue, and Stephanie and I have talked about it a little bit. You know, it's one thing to ask volunteers to do some minor landscaping, but when you're power washing an older stucco building with light fixtures and different things, I think it's a little more, there's a little more into it than just doing landscaping. So all I am here is to just respectfully ask that the council reconsider and have the library, the building itself cleaned up.
Thank you, Sue.
Take that under advisement and discuss it in the business. Next on the list is Stephanie McCullough for the library board.
Hi, I'm Stephanie McCullough. Pretty much everything that Sue said, I'm repeating. But also there, and I did not bring a picture, I apologize, there's an issue with the end of our building where the peak is on the north end that has been addressed. Well, I've been there 14 years, so it's been addressed, I'd say, for probably the last 8. Here Sue has a picture. It looks like, I don't know at one time if an animal got up in there or through storm damage, but the slabs are spread apart. We, like I said, have talked to several I don't know if we spoke with Brian ever, but it's been was addressed to Bill when he was here. Again, it was addressed to Chris Walters after he did more of Bill's, took over for Bill. I just feel it's an issue that needs to be addressed, because I think that that's something that animals could get in, or maybe even leakage. Someone asked if we'd had any leakage up there. I'm not sure, because we've never crawled up on the roof and gone in and inspected it ourselves. Also, the other thing I would like to bring up is the issue with the snow removal in the winter. And I know we're a little ways from that, but in our contract, it says snow is to be removed from the parking lot and the sidewalk. Most of the 14 years that I've been there, during the time that Bill was there, he did address the sidewalk, and a lot of times when I came into work at 9:30 or 10, the sidewalk was done. But there are lots of days that I did the sidewalk, which I just did because it needed to be done. I didn't even know that was the town's responsibility. There's a lot of times that we had to make phone calls to get our parking lot cleared off. A lot of times it never got cleared off, and then it would turn to, during the day, if it would warm up and be slushy, and we would be like, okay, can you come get this cleared off before it freezes up again?
Who did you call?
At that time, I believe, there were times when we contacted the previous,
Administrator.
yeah,
Sarah.
Sarah, and then last year, I believe, maybe the Sarah that was manager there contacted, I think, Brian. I'm not sure.
I've never been contacted.
Oh, you're Brian, okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
No, I'm Brian too, but
Oh,
he's
okay, all
administrator,
right.
Brian, I'm just
Okay,
council.
I would have to ask her, I'm not sure who she contacted. I just know that I actually went out and physically moved some of the snow and slush away so our patrons didn't have to walk through it, or the danger of them slipping and falling.
We'll talk about it when we do our next contract with snow removal. We'll make sure that they get that on there.
We're not doing
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for that.
Michelle Walker, you wanted to discuss ordinance 2024-05, just to let you know that that's not on the agenda this week, but you're still welcome to speak on it.
I got different things on there. Okay, Kevin said you have to be on the agenda before it goes out. But if I don't know what you're gonna talk about before the agenda comes out, how do I know I'm gonna have a question or a suggestion? Okay, thank you, Councilman, who responded to my email. But I agree with Steve. You need to think through trailer rules and not change the spouse having to move, because it could be their only home and they might not be able to afford to move. Double wides, manufactured home, modular homes, they're not allowed in Antwerp anymore. I want to know what the difference is in between them. And are the ones that are here, are we going to be grandfathered in with the new ordinance, or are we not part of the ordinance? And why can't we have them? If they're on a permanent foundation, it's a home. And when you people argue about how many council people you can have anywhere, I have lived in this town my whole life. I've been working in this town since I was 16 years old. There has been ball games. There's been Ray's Restaurant. I've seen council people together. You consider it a meeting if you're all in the same place, because aren't you you go to ball games, funeral homes. People die in this town. We've had buku people. You go as a group. I don't consider that a council meeting, but the way you guys are wording it, if you guys are together, it's a council
We're
meeting.
not making up the wording. It's from the Ohio Attorney General's office. I mean, we aren't making those rules.
So seriously, you can't be together at the same time?
If it's a scheduled meeting, you know.
It becomes a quorum, so then it becomes, if there's a committee meeting with 3 committee members and another council member attends, then it becomes a council meeting. And we have advertised it as a personnel meeting. And so then we're basically falsely advertising a meeting. So, and we have the solicitor, he gave us some information that backs that. We're not making the rules. We're not hiding from the camera. There's not a transparency issue. It's literally us trying to do what's right. And that's what we've been told by Cam, before him, Shane, before him, Mel. And so we're just doing what we're told by those that have the degrees in law. So I appreciate what you're saying. It's confusing to
Yeah.
all of us, but
Yeah, because I mean, Ray's Restaurant, back in the day, they'd come in there, have breakfast together, talk. It wasn't business oriented, so I didn't have a problem with it. Okay, my last thing is, if you're gonna use the pot money to better the streets, water lines, sidewalks, and street lights, good job. But if you're gonna use it just to better your paycheck, shame on you.
Nobody's ever said we're gonna better our paycheck.
We can't do that.
Okay, George is not, maybe he is here now for the police report. Is that George?
Yep.
Any questions on the police report? If not, I know George would also like to discuss a possible ordinance too, but there's questions on the police report first. If not, I'll give the floor to George to discuss his proposed ordinance in regards to single-family housing being changed to multifamily.
You have an ordinance there that I believe, I don't know if the solicitor has contacted you, Brian, or not.
no, sir.
It's just a thought.
Do you want to speak to it?
Pretty much self-explanatory. If you've read it.
So last meeting, George, you brought up this, and there was a lot of talk about it, and you referenced other towns were having issues. Could you just talk about that a little bit?
I think if you take our beautiful 2-story and 3-story homes and you constantly allow them to be converted into duplexes and triplexes, there's several things that you're doing. Number one, you're increasing the amount of usage in your water lines, sewer lines, and to my knowledge, those places still only pay like a one, they pay the same as a single family, correct, Brian?
If the building goes to the landlord, that is correct.
So, you know, essentially, in the long run, I mean, you're gonna have, well, 3 times 10, you'd have 30 families living in 10 homes, and just the amount of usage that is increased in your water lines, sewer lines, not to mention the police calls. I mean, so, and then once those homes are no longer available, that just takes away the chance of somebody to move to this community, buy a home, and be part of what's going on here versus, you know, nothing against people that rent, but there's lots of places to rent without destroying our beautiful homes that we have available. Just my thought. You can agree, disagree, I don't care.
I was just wondering, what issues are other towns having with this?
I think the call volume that you see in other communities that have a multitude of, you know, 2-story homes that have been converted where, you know, there's maybe 2 apartments upstairs, 1 downstairs, 1 in the garage. Just the call volume alone should speak for itself, I guess.
But one of the things that we need to look at too is when you take a single-family home and you subdivide it into a 2 or 3 apartment unit, you convert it to a commercial property versus a residential home, in essence. So then it begs whether or not they are required to have backflow preventers in their system, as we require commercial buildings to have. And so we need to look at that. Even if we did nothing else, we need to look at that. But I understand George's perspective when you take a single-family home and you carve it up, and then, you know, you have, when you're figuring sewer rates and stuff, they do it by a nomenclature called RDUs. So one house is 1 RDU. Well, if that house has 3 apartments, then it's 3 RDUs. So we just need to look at that, and if the council feels this is something they need to move or want to move on, then we need to take and draft legislation that you'll review and approve.
I think it's just definitely worthy of discussion. I mean, you know, we have, you know, Liners Mobile Home Park, a lot of those are renters. We have Doug Bragg's Mobile Home Park, a lot of those are renters. Of course, we have North Garden Apartments, we have the Park Avenue Villas, not to mention the amount of homes that are available to rent without, you know, doing away with the homes that we have available for people to move here.
If we have too many of the houses that do that, the parking would be unreal.
That'd be another,
There'd be no place, if it's a one one home and you get that many people living in it, you got a lot more vehicles.
You're right. Good point.
Does anyone like to make a motion to move forward with having Cam review this ordinance that George has proposed for legality and maybe present it next month's meeting for a first reading, or if not, how we move forward, I guess.
I'll make one.
I'll second it. There's a discrepancy on it. At the bottom, there's 3 readings, but in the middle, we have it as emergency in section 4.
I think that George had that in there so we could do it either way, but then so we could probably do it as 3 readings, or, whatever count. You wanna make a motion to do it as a 3 reading or as an emergency, or, well, I guess Steve.
I would prefer 3 readings.
3 readings?
Because that way we get
Is
ideas
that all right?
that are
Just
not,
leave it as a 3 reading? Right.
that somebody may not have thought of here.
All right, there's a motion on the floor by Steve Jordan and seconded by Bryce Steiner to have Cam move forward with drafting a legal ordinance for review for a first reading at next month's council meeting. Steve Jordan? Bryce Steiner?
Yes.
Dean Reister?
Yes.
Bill Boylan?
Yes.
Jason Franks?
Yes.
And Brian Smith?
Yes.
Okay. So we'll get Cam, he's almost trying to get here, but I don't know if he'll make it, but we'll get the information to him so he can get
Is the mobile home ordinance gonna be discussed tonight?
No,
No.
the last month there was talk about council sending revisions to Brian, and as far as I know, Brian, you have not received any revisions on that, correct?
I have not, sir.
Reported to Cam, so
I just have some input.
until Brian gets any revisions on that, we won't be able to move forward with it, because last month it was basically voted down, so no action will take place on that until.
I thought George had sent a revision.
No, it was asked at last month's meeting that the council send any recommendations or revisions to Brian to have forward on to Cam to put into the, so.
Okay.
George, wasn't there someone wanting to convert right now a house into 3 different apartments with?
There is one, and you're, it is what it is. I mean, I wish him the best, but there's also a couple other ones that I've heard discussed that may take place in the near future. I wouldn't stop what anybody's doing right now, but like I said, once you start doing away with your homes, you're not gonna have anybody that wants to live here. There's no place to live.
We talked about this quite a ways back during some council stuff. We was talking about trying to limit the amount of people that can just buy houses and rent them, because you start getting a disparity of all rentals, and you don't have people that are acquiring home ownership, which kind of leads to a downgrade of your community, because the caring's not there if you don't own it.
Thank you for the information.
Could I add something about the mobile home ordinance? Is that okay? Just a minute,
You can give information, yeah.
just food for thought. I had a resident approach me, and he knew I was in favor of, having an ordinance where the mobile homes are removed, and he had a really good point, and I kind of agree with him. He said, I feel it punishes guys like me that do take care of the mobile homes that I own, and I make sure they're maintained. I've got nice roofs on them. He said it's too bad, because he knew that the village had a standards for homes, that you couldn't have legislation that just said, okay, if you're going to have a mobile home in the village, it needs to be upgraded every so many years, and this is a list of things that need to be done, and maybe have an inspector check it out. He said, and here's his main thing. He said, mine are nice, and I agree. And he said, should I pass away and want to leave those to my children as a source of revenue, he said, if that's passed, they're stuck with a mess. They've got to get rid of these things that I've collected rent on and I've taken care of for several years. So just food for thought.
Okay.
Very good.
Ashley did supply a EMS report. I laid it on the desk for everyone to review. If you have questions on that, I should say you'll have to contact Ashley on the report, because I don't have any detailed information on it. So. Moving forward to the fiscal officer report. First, we have the emergency reading of ordinance 2024-06. This is, you guys all had a copy of it last month, but we didn't have a majority for to suspend the rules. So, an ordinance restricting the area that medical marijuana and recreational marijuana facilities may be placed within the village and declaring the same an emergency. entertain a motion, I guess, to suspend the rules for emergency reading.
I'll make a motion to suspend the rules.
I'll second it.
Bryce? Motion on the floor to suspend the rules in regards to ordinance 2024-06. Bill Dwellen?
Yes.
Bryce Steiner?
Yes.
Dean Reister?
I will abstain.
Jason Franks?
Yes.
Steve Jordan?
Yes.
And Brian Smith?
Yes.
Okay. Now for the, we'll entertain a motion to adopt the ordinance.
I want to ask a question to Mr. Davis on this. If the facility is going to go at the old depot, is it true that we can only have one facility in the village and it wouldn't even be an issue if it's down there?
Based on the radius of 1 mile as required by the state law, there would be no other place that you could cite one in the village. 1 mile takes you out past the 24 exchange, takes you out past the city limits on the north, and takes you all the way out to Shaffer Road.
Okay.
You would not be able to place one in the village
Okay,
by law.
okay. I'll make the motion, we accept that ordinance.
I'll second.
Bryce has made a motion. Is that Jason in a second?
Yeah.
Motion to adopt ordinance 2024-06. Bryce Steiner?
Yes.
Jason Franks?
Yes.
Dean Reister?
I'll abstain.
Bill Boylan?
Yes.
Steve Jordan?
Yes.
Brian Smith?
No.
4 out of 6, that's majority, right? I need signature by the mayor on that. Moving forward, we have an emergency reading of ordinance 2024-08. This is an ordinance authorizing the mayor of the village of Antwerp to enter into an agreement for the supply of electricity to the village-owned buildings, streetlights, and wells with Constellation Energy Incorporated for a term of 12 months commencing on November 1st of 2024 and declaring the same an emergency. Motion to suspend the rules.
I'll move. Go ahead.
Dean?
I'll second.
And Steve. Motion on the floor to suspend the rules. Dean Reister?
Yes.
Steve Jordan?
Yes.
Bill Boylan?
No.
Bryce Steiner?
Yeah.
Jason Franks?
Yes.
And Brian Smith?
Yes.
If there's any questions on this
Yeah.
ordinance.
Are the numbers different than what you had emailed us?
Yes, that is, I put that in the email, that the
Yeah.
highlighted areas would be corrected
Okay,
with the new ordinance, and that's where,
Okay.
so the
And why is this an emergency? When does
because
this?
our contract expires at the end
Well,
of.
the reason it's an emergency is after tonight, these numbers are no good. These numbers change every day, just like the stock market. So I've got the numbers froze through tonight, but tomorrow morning, those numbers will not be good.
Okay.
And so we'll have to go back out again.
Okay, and so this is saying that we're gonna be about 4.2 cents, and we're currently paying 7.2
No,
cents.
no,
Is that-
we're at 7.4.
You're looking at the highlighted one that I had put in the packet so you could read it, and on the desk, yes,
Yeah,
on the
that's the
desk
old one.
tonight was the corrected version. And
That's the old one.
And I
That was back
also,
in the
and I
good
also
days.
emailed the corrected version after, because I made the council packets a week prior, like we always do.
Okay,
And I put in that email that was just for reference only, the highlighted areas
okay,
would change.
okay, I got it, so it's
That's
6
the one I believe.
point.
It's 6 cents.
Okay, I was thinking you were saying this was the
Yeah.
corrected.
No, no,
This
no,
is
no,
not
that is,
7%.
that was what was in
And
the
now
original
we're going
council
to
packet,
6
but I
So
laid
that's
on
not
the,
what was sitting here. Okay, so that's,
what is sitting on the desk was the
Okay.
corrected version.
okay, I thought that's what was sitting on the.
Okay, so
desk. I'm sorry
if
about
you
that.
look at the 2024-08, so what that is, the first part of it, the top part is, at the time, what we were paying. The second part is what the new price would be. So when you look at the 4-something, you think we're going from 4-something to 6. In reality, we're going from 7.4 or whatever it is, down to 6. So
Okay.
we're actually going to have a decrease in our electric rates.
By a penny or so.
Penny per kilowatt.
Okay, that's what I saw in the email, and I just, for some reason, I thought that's what I saw up here. Okay. I'll make the motion to approve it unless there's other discussion.
Well, I got a question on it. By changing this, who takes care of the streetlights? Is that stay the same? Or
That's part of it. So when I take and we sign this, they have a list of every one of our accounts and everything that deals with that account, streetlights and everything. So this rate, the streetlights, anything the village pays for, not the residents, just village government, will be at the new rate of 6 cents on 1st of November versus the 7.4 cents per
Well, I
kilowatt. it is
understand
today.
that, but I'm talking about the repair of the lights, replacements.
AEP does.
I'd say
That was through with AEP.
Oh, yeah, that doesn't change. This doesn't have anything even to do with
This is
AEP.
just on
this
the
is,
electric
this is
bill.
the generation rate.
So, yeah, no, AEP will continue to repair the lights. I haven't had anybody call me in a long time.
We've been doing this contract for a while. We've been sticking with them.
I get, it's probably one of my most generated calls on this kind of stuff, because as soon as we do this, everybody in the state of Ohio will call and say, I got a better rate, you could, and it's just,
Is the contract with Constellation or Dyna Energy?
it's with Constellation,
Energy is what the,
or Dyna Energy is what we're going to.
Okay, I was gonna say, because paragraph 2 sounds different than paragraph 1.
Yeah,
Okay.
so we use a broker called Muirfield, and all of the fees and everything are baked into the price, so we don't pay them anything. But they give me a spreadsheet, and it shows me all the different companies that bid on our business and what their rates are based on 12-month, 18-month, 24, 36, 48 months. And then we go back and we take a look at what we think is going to happen in the future, and what is that in the best interest of today. So we try to balance that to get the best rate.
Okay.
So,
any other discussion? If not, I will entertain a motion to.
I'll make a motion to approve 2024-08.
Bryce Steiner made a motion. Is there a second to Bryce's motion?
I'll second.
Motion on the floor to adopt ordinance 2024-08. Bryce Steiner,
Yes.
Dean Reister,
Yes.
Bill Boylan,
Yes.
Jason Franks. Yes. Steve Jordan.
Yes.
Brian Smith.
I'm gonna need that.
You have to
sign the contract
and. You don't have it, you gotta sign it.
Scan and email it to me, and then I can forward it to her
I'll
tonight.
do that. Moving forward, committee reports. Ryan probably more familiar with where your signatures on that. No committee reports?
Yeah, so I just wanted to make a statement about the last personnel meeting, just to clarify what went on. I kind of discussed this a little bit before, but I would have given an explanation to the day of the meeting, but I wasn't aware that camera had started taping prior to the meeting's official start. So the reason that we had to cancel the meeting is because we had 4 council members in attendance. I know there's some confusion on the issue, but at the end of the day, we have been told by 3 different village solicitors, our village administrator, and the mayor that this is not legal. We are not afraid of cameras or not afraid of transparency. We are simply trying to follow the rules as they have been laid out for us. As for the discussion on the sidewalk and we were being recorded, we were simply discussing when we could reschedule the meeting for the 3rd time because we're trying to have the meeting. So that's what it was. There was no shady business or false narratives being spread about all that jazz. It's just us trying to conduct business in a legal manner as the best we can. So I appreciate, and I'm sorry again that wasn't clarified at the meeting, but I wasn't aware that we were being recorded at that point. So that is the personnel update, and we are trying to reschedule the meeting again so we can have that. So we'll let everyone know when we have it rescheduled and it'll be published. So that's all I have for the personnel committee.
I think any other committees have met, so. As far as I know, I don't have any old business, but Brian, am I correct? No old business? Moving into new business.
Sorry, old business, water treatment plant, any updates, or is that on, do you have a report,
I
Brian?
have an update for you.
Oh, forget what I said. Thank you.
I do. A couple updates. I mean, I don't have much. Jones and Henry has submitted the plans to the Ohio EPA for its review. Excuse me. They're 80%, 85% done with the plans. So they've submitted it for them to start to review the plans, and these are detailed plans like you would anticipate if you're going to build something. That probably is going to take at least 6 months. And I kind of say that tongue in cheek because the general plan was supposed to take 6 months and it took 15. But approximately 6 to 10 months for them to approve it. And then once they approve it, then we start looking for money and stuff. So right now, there won't be anything for at least till the end of the year, if not longer than that. The water tower is coming along extremely well. They've primed the outside, they've sandblasted. For anyone that doesn't know, when you do a water tower, you have to tent the tower because you have to capture all the byproduct when you sandblast. So that's why it looks like it has a big tent around it. In reality, the guys that are doing the work are between the tower and the tent. So they have it all sandblasted, they had it primed. I did not go down today to look at it. My understanding is based on the reporting I get, the interior of the tower is complete, and then they will put 3 epoxy coats on the exterior. They still have to apply the name, and then they're going to put 2 American flags right in line with the name, and then they'll be done. I talked with the I think he's the owner of the company. I talked with him the other day, and I asked him, I said, "Are you looking at another month?" And he said, "No." He says, "I think maybe 2 weeks." So we should be getting her done pretty soon. Then we got our water tower back online and hopefully try to mitigate some of the water breaks. So that's where we're at.
What's the time frame on refilling it?
I never even asked. We'll put in probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 150 gallons, so my guess is probably 24 hours, maybe less, maybe 18 hours.
Just old business too, the splash pad, I think they're getting ready to pour the concrete this week. So they had laid all the PEX piping which was on the state approved blueprints. And then the inspector came out and said he didn't like that piping, so they had to pull all that piping out and put in all different piping. So those guys were out there, if you've been driving by, they're out there every night, Dustin Sensabaugh, that crew, they're trying everything like in their power to get that thing done. So hopefully, I drove by it today on my way back from back to school night, and it looks like they have it sectioned off to pour the concrete. So I think within the week they'll be pouring the concrete. So hopefully there's no other hiccups, but just an FYI, because I've seen some people question.
I think they're waiting for the inspector to come back and sign off.
So yeah,
everything else was approved.
Okay.
Because Dustin called me and he was a little disappointed.
Well, yeah, and they said he could have argued with, since it was on the blueprint, state-approved blueprints, that he could have argued with it, but then it would have taken 3 to 4 weeks to get whatever. So they just pulled it all out, went and bought all brand new stuff and threw it in there. So $1,500 later, and maybe $15,000. Oh, it was $15,000 for the PEX or the new pipe?
For the Schedule 80.
Oh, okay, right on. See, I was missing a zero. So
because when he told me that, I'm like, not in the budget.
Right. Well, no, it wasn't at all. I think, so.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he told me 15,000.
Okay. Yeah, you probably are right. So, but I know they're chipping away at it. So hopefully soon it will be running.
It looked good. I went and I stopped out before and walked around. I mean, they've graded the outside surface and everything stuff. How many noticed the new bridge?
I seen the new
Yeah,
bridge.
yeah.
Oh, that's
Nice.
The day in the park, they were using it a bunch.
Yeah, it looks nice.
Sure does.
We got a lot more stuff we want to get done, but we're just waiting for the splash pad to get done and so we can connect all the dots.
Any update on Shaffer Road?
No. The president has refused to sign the bill on 2 occasions, and the governor has submitted a 3rd request to the president. So it deals with federal funding.
No other old business, we'll move into new business. New business.
Were we gonna discuss that email that was sent by Cam?
You can if you want.
Okay. what he wrote here. I guess, I mean, I wish he was here so I could address him directly. But,
He's
Might be getting
on
close,
his
he's on
way.
his way, landed in Portland.
but I also did a lot of reviews and on the Supreme Court cases. And it says the spirit of the law is liberally to openness. That's the first sentence. And it also states that you are either public body or the public. If I am not allowed to go to the meetings, which class am I in?
You're an elected official.
Public body, you were elected into the public body.
So I would be on the committee.
No,
No.
only if you're
Okay.
placed on.
I just want to make sure I understand what you guys are saying, because the way the law is written, the public body is that committee and that committee alone. You are either a member of the public body or you're a member of the public. The law itself, there is no other category in 121.22. And he did not copy and paste this as he said he did. That is not on there. So that's going to be interesting too. But anyhow, I really think if we would read what other attorneys have said about it, specifically the Ohio School Board, right on their website, can a majority of the members of our body, committee, subcommittee gather without violating the Open Meetings Act? Yes. And they give an explanation of why. Now, you don't have to agree with them, but the Supreme Court has actually ruled on stuff on this, and I would be glad to give the cases, because I went through and reviewed them.
Can I
And,
interject?
yes,
Something I think you need to understand though, Bryce,
Yes.
is like if any member of council or the mayor or myself act outside the scope of what their legal representative is telling them, there is no protection from liability. They personally,
you're talking about for the body who says it wrong.
if the solicitor is telling them that only 3 can be present,
Yes.
and they act outside the scope of that, and it turned out to be wrong, they are personally liable for any decision that was made. The village insurance wouldn't even protect them.
Okay.
And they may even disagree personally,
Yes.
which I think if anybody wants to come watch, they should, but you have to go by what your legal authority is telling you. You know, you
I
could
think
pose
the
that.
problem becomes too when you interject into those meetings, then it becomes a council meeting. So when you start talking in those meetings, then it becomes 4 council members, which is another problem.
Okay,
So
the 3 requirements
the other thing is if you are looking for transparency, sir, why not have one of your employees or your wife come in and record it so that we don't even have to have this? We're trying to figure it out. We're following the rules that have been given us by our solicitor. So for you to keep coming to these meetings to stop the progress of what we're trying to do here, instead of just bending a little bit to help this village move along. I asked that question. I wonder why you could start the camera and walk out and come get it at the end of it. But none of those things are on your table because they don't help that agenda. And so I wonder why you wouldn't do that to help the village move forward instead of continuing to run into walls and brick walls and hurdles and it's sticks in the spokes. It's just, we're trying to do things positive, Bryce, and you're setting us up
This
on
is supposed to be my
Facebook.
time.
Okay, well, I just
Now-
wanted to throw that out there, but you go ahead and tell me
No,
the
I'm
3
just
rules of the
doing-
meeting. Go ahead, I would not know the
Okay,
3 rules of the
I'm
meeting.
just saying that our attorney has been wrong numerous times.
And so have you with things that you brought in here, correct?
No,
The chicken thing, right? Other things, Bryce, okay, I'm not going to argue because my point of it is,
can you be quiet so I can do my part? I was given the
Absolutely.
floor.
okay, go ahead, sir.
Thank you. Okay, so anyhow, this is not, we know that Cam Stanley does not know much about the Open Meetings Act. We've had that before. And
What do you base that on, Bryce?
Yeah.
Just
Well, one,
the fact
by
he doesn't
half-
agree with you?
No, because he had us go into meetings about an elected official that was an executive session, all of which are banned by the law.
Well, one
He
of you-
didn't even know it.
One of you's passed a board exam and one of you hasn't. So,
Doesn't matter.
I mean, it
50% of the
matters to me.
time, every lawyer's wrong.
I mean, it matters to me.
Okay.
I'm gonna take the advice of the solicitor.
And you should.
over
You should.
what you
However,
say.
just because somebody has said it long enough and loud enough, doesn't mean it's true. And that's why I think we need to go by what the law actually says. It's open for open. Now, I'll be done and we can move completely on, but I would love to actually sit down and have the discussion with Cam so I can show him the Supreme Court cases.
So you have a degree in law now?
Jan, I have actually tried in court, in front of a jury. So, no, I do not have a degree, but I have been there and won. Now, I read the Ohio Revised Code every day, but I already said I'm done. Let's move on.
Wait a minute. What did you do in court?
Let's move on. I'll talk to you after, Jason, so we're not wasting time.
No, I need to know.
No, we've got a question, Bryce.
We got all kinds
answer
of
it.
time. Go ahead.
Yeah.
It's open floor.
Okay?
Yeah.
What do you want to know? Ask me.
What did you do in court?
When? Which time?
What you just referenced.
Time.
You
I have tried a case in court, yes.
You've tried a case in court.
Yes,
You have a case number?
I do, but I don't have it with it memorized.
Next meeting, can you bring that?
I will give it to you later.
Great.
Okay, but anyhow, we do need to do what's best, and openness and transparency is the best. There's only two cases in Ohio in that law. You're either a member of the public or the public body. That's the committee or the public. That's what the law says. Okay, thank you.
So basically, you're telling us that you're going to attend all the committee meetings.
Jan, what happened on December 9th, 2023? Okay.
I don't know, Bryce, tell me.
Okay, I will. Thank you for asking.
I didn't ask
you-
it. Go ahead.
You called us all to have a meeting. It was never prearranged, and it was prearranged. It was never advertised. Was that illegal? It was on a Saturday morning to take a picture out at the sidewalk. I just want to know the conflicts here.
That wasn't a meeting.
That was a ribbon cutting.
But we had more than a majority. See, the
We were
target
not
is me.
deliberating village business.
Yes, we actually did. We talked about the sidewalk. So do you see what I'm saying here?
Did you
If-
take any action about the sidewalk?
No, we take a picture because it was a completed
So
project.
if we go to a basketball game, is only the first three council members allowed to go?
It's when it's advertised as a meeting, Bryce.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
If you read the Ohio Sunshine Law.
I have many times. So besides, you're not a member of the council, so let's. So here's what it
Bryce,
says.
have a little
It
bit of
has to be
respect.
prearranged. I am giving respect.
Okay, let's hear it.
Prearranged. Okay, that means that if it says it's a council meeting, it's only a council meeting. If it's a committee meeting, prearranged, it's only a committee meeting, no matter who is there. Being that I'm not on that committee, I'm somewhere off on this law altogether. Because you're either a member of the public body or you're a member of the public.
And you ran for this office and you won. You are a council member.
Of course I am, but does that mean if a person from Paulding, who's an elected official, comes to the meeting, that they wouldn't be allowed to?
I'm not a part of this body.
That's right,
Not
and
part
neither
of
am
it.
I. I am not a part of that committee.
But it wasn't advertised.
So, that's right, thank you. Now you're pointing out the conflicts
No.
here. Because
You're
three
causing the
counts-
conflict.
You are misinterpreting what you are
Don't
reading.
tell me to be quiet.
Do you not want me to respond?
Well, I'd like to hear smart responses.
Okay, I suppose that let's just move on.
I don't know why you're
Let's-
willing to
let's-
talk about it when our solicitors
People
already
people
given an
keep
answer.
asking me questions. But it's not
You brought
right.
it up. You brought it up. You wanted to talk about it.
Right, but let's move on. Because, look, you keep asking me questions, that's why it keeps going on. I'm fine with it.
I don't know why you brought it up, because our solicitor
It
already
says right
emailed us
on here,
today.
bring it up tonight.
Okay. We all have been given direction on this.
Is this about you being right, or is this about us moving this village
It's
forward
about
and doing
following the
positive things?
law for transparency.
Just
for everything.
wondering.
But
The
you wanna keep
transparency, you
this
keep
going?
using that word, but
It isn't about
again,
that.
you don't have employees that could film the thing. You couldn't put the camera up and leave. Again, you're doing it to prove your point, and we're trying to move this village along and do things to progress the village in a positive manner.
You could have had the meeting.
I couldn't have had the meeting because
But it
I was
was an
told by
illegal
my
meeting.
solicitor that I could not have the meeting. And so I don't have a law degree, and I don't study the laws every night. I simply defer to the people that have the law degrees and tell us the things that we're supposed to do. So there you have it. But again, it comes back to, are you doing this for you, or are you doing this for the village? Because if you're doing it for the village, it seems like you could pursue these issues outside of stopping everything we're trying to do to move forward. That's all I'm saying. So you can answer it or you don't have to answer it. I don't care. But there's a lot of people that feel that way. That again, there's a lot of other options to keep the transparency alive, but that's not what your goal is.
No, because I'm allowed to be there.
Yep, okay. And per 3 other solicitors, you're not.
So you don't want to look at the other cases?
No.
No,
Okay,
I
I
don't.
didn't think so.
Yep.
But I want an answer. Do you plan on attending all of our committee meetings to make them illegal?
I plan on attending your meetings, yes.
So we can't have any more committee meetings because they aren't
I was actually
advertised
the
as a
second
council
one there,
meeting.
Jan.
What?
I was the second one there.
But you're
What's that got to do with
It
it?
doesn't
You're not on
matter.
the
You
committee.
can get there anytime. You're not on the
And
committee.
again, this is a.
Move on.
Why don't you just
In a
move to
nutshell.
just disband the committees
on.
and be done with it?
That's where I was at. If
Can we
if
do
this
that?
is where it is,
Absolutely,
then
yeah.
we can disband committees. We will no longer conduct village business with any committees.
We can't if he's going to continue to attend all the meetings. They're
Exactly.
illegal
I mean,
meetings.
is that what you want?
I want to be at the meeting so I can
You
hear what
don't
happens.
have to be.
You can record it and watch your own
them
video.
And watch the video.
Just like the public.
You're gonna find out what happens at the meeting, go ahead and give a committee report.
Right. I mean, is it that big of a deal?
Apparently it is, because you guys keep dragging this on.
You're dragging it on, not these guys.
We're trying to make you understand that it's our solicitors, that it's under the advice of our village solicitors.
Okay.
And it's not just one that
Can
you
we just
feel is
move on?
inexperienced, it's 3. And
We have,
the
it's
other
only
2 have
been
had
one.
a ton of experience. I still remember the first time I asked to be at a committee, and Mel said, absolutely not. You form a quorum of council when you are in attendance. And if you want to read the sunshine laws, attending in person says a member of the body must be present in person at a meeting in order to be considered present,
Yes.
vote, or be counted as part of a quorum.
So I would be part of the roll call?
You would be part of the quorum
If
of
I'm-
full council that we
If I'm
advertise
not a
as a
part of the
committee.
roll call, then I am not on the
Your
body.
presence makes you there.
Thanks, that's smart.
So if you think you can sit and not attend the meeting, ask yourself about September 20th, 2023. What happened that day?
Okay,
You've already proved you cannot just sit quietly, and that's why our solicitors advise us, do not attend these meetings when you do not advertise them as a council. It is just a committee.
okay.
So, with all that being said, I would just entertain that I move to make a motion that we just adhere to the solicitor's advice, and as council persons, we do not attend committee meetings unless you are part of the committee. And I would make that motion.
Is there a
Okay,
second?
do we have a second?
Second it.
Motion on the floor from
Can we-
Dean.
Can we do that?
I don't know.
Absolutely.
I don't-
Nope, you cannot.
We can absolutely make a motion to follow our solicitor's advice.
without-
Which says what? You have to put down what he actually says.
Let's
Not
wait
just
until
saying
either
follow
Ken
his
gets here
advice.
before we just
Or
continue
at
this on,
least-
because we don't have legal
At least 3
authority.
readings, so we have time to,
It wouldn't be an ordinance.
well, right. I just can't believe it's gotten to this.
I can't either.
I mean, it is freaking ridiculous.
This is worse than
I don't
chickens.
even know why you make a motion, because he's not gonna adhere to it anyways. The only people that's gonna pay attention is the 5 other people.
Go to the mayor's report.
Mhm.
You know what, on new business, we've got 2 ladies that made a presentation tonight, and they're waiting for a response, either
Okay.
for or against, but I think we gotta move on to that, so respectively.
Move forward into the discussion on the library, I guess.
So take it under advisement.
What does that mean?
So they,
Consider it.
Like next meeting, we would have an answer, or should we get on the agenda next meeting to
No, you don't need to get on. the
Why don't we
agenda.
just clean the library and be done?
clean up, I mean, you talk about
Are we
patient
doing it
things
just
over
because
and
I
over
brought
and
it up?
over.
Is
It
that
has
what's holding it
nothing to
back?
do with you.
that's what it is, Bryce. Everything's about you, buddy.
Well, I kinda heard that at one point. That was who brings things up.
Wow, Sue.
That's not the case, Sue.
Okay,
Who'd you hear that from?
Somebody on
Mr. Steiner?
Facebook.
no,
Okay, can we just move on?
Wasn't there.
The library needs maintained.
Do we?
Let's just do it.
No removal on,
Yes.
So we just need to make sure that the guys are aware that they're in charge of that, so when snow comes in.
I've not heard anything about the sidewalks,
Okay,
ever.
okay.
And the problem is, and I have contacted the director, and I've had a conversation with him, and I've had a conversation with Sarah and stuff. The only person you communicate in the village to get things done at the library is me. And they were always calling Bill or Chris, and I'm the one that sets out the work, so I'm not aware of it. So then they're wondering why something's not done. I don't know anything about it.
Okay.
So they need to communicate directly with me.
So Stephanie
And then I
needs to
will-
know that relative to.
And then I will say whether it's something we are going or not going to do, and if so, when we will have it done by. I'll give them a completion date.
So with the library, then you'll just look at it and see if you guys can get it done and let them know. Is it that easy?
Yep.
do you have a time frame?
Nope.
Yeah, still.
Any other,
Good luck.
any other new business? If not, we'll move to the mayor's report.
No, my mayor's report is 000.
Nobody in court?
Motion to adjourn?
Mayor, could I ask the council go into executive session to discuss employee personnel?
We don't have an attorney.
You don't have to have an attorney.
You've stated before we've had to.
You have to have an attorney to go into executive session for the discussion of client-attorney privilege. You do not need one to discuss personnel.
Is anyone willing to entertain a motion for George to move to executive session for discussion of personnel?
I'll make it.
I'll second it.
Jason Franks and Bryce Steiner. Motion on the floor to move to executive session to discuss personnel. Jason Franks,
Yes.
Bryce Steiner,
Yes.
Dean Reister,
Yes.
Bill Boylan,
Yes.
Steve Jordan,
Yeah.
and Brian Smith.
Just gonna have to live in the block sideways.
Any other, well, we have the mayor's report. I guess we're up to the point of motion for adjournment.
Well, I got one more thing I want to bring up. 2 years ago, we were talking about hiring a building inspector. And Jan, you said you and Brian Davis were taking care of that. Are we anywhere closer? Because we really need a building inspector in this village. If we're gonna if we're gonna have our ordinances, our minimum housing standards and everything else, if we expect them, we've got to get a building inspector back on.
That was CIC's, didn't meet with somebody.
Yeah,
Holding's got somebody
there's a
that,
gentleman that will do zoning and building inspections. I know that
That's the one throughout
One
the county.
yeah, one township is paying him like 1,700 and change
It's Carry
a
On
year.
Township.
No, it's not Carry On, it's Crane. I wasn't gonna say. So anyways, but so the point is we could hire an individual to do it all and stuff. I know you think we need an inspector. The reality is that if you go through and you look at our minimum standards, every house in this community meets the minimum standard. So your inspector's not gonna be able to do anything for you. And then you run into the issues with the Department of Health and all these other things. So, I mean, to try to facilitate a change to a home, to try to condemn a home, to do these types of things it takes a lot more than a village building inspector, a lot more than that. So,
Several months ago, you had mentioned about issuing permits for this kind of stuff. And I
For
was, like, where we could have somebody, where we have a rate that if we issued permits, then we would be able to follow through with the inspections. If we're gonna issue permits, we've gotta have somebody.
I don't disagree with you there. No, I mean, and we've talked about the fact that we issue these building permits and stuff, and then the question begs is after you've done the initial review and signed off and given the permit, is there any mechanism for follow-up? Do you go back and verify they put the fence where they said they were gonna put it, or the addition is the size, or the house is the size that they said? And I don't know that, because I don't do that.
Right.
But I don't disagree. So, but I mean, I think this is, falls more under zoning and planning than it does council per se.
I thought that's what the personnel committee was trying to achieve, was to establish if we did or didn't need one, and to what extent.
Yeah, we
But
was
so
looking
far, that
at,
hasn't worked out.
looking at a compliance officer to monitor zoning ordinance violations.
So, Tim, there is one for the county? We just
No,
have to
there is a
contact them
person
or
that
what?
lives in the county that possesses all the certifications and licenses required, and he's looking to take on villages and townships and do this type of work.
We have to individually hire him.
You would have to individually hire him.
Contract.
You'd have to contract with him.
Something we could look into.
Mm-hmm.
If there's nothing else, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Vice Steiner, motion to adjourn, second. Jason? Motion on the floor to adjourn the meeting. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye.